Yo, what is good, Can't Believers and high performers? Welcome to another episode of the Can't Believe I Made It podcast. I'm your podcast host, high performance mentor, and dietitian, Desi Abeda. All right, happy Mentorship Monday, people. I want to pose a question before we dive into the biggest part of our content. And the question that I want to pose to you, when's the last time that you actually got to a point in your life where you could observe some of your negative thought patterns? And if you're able to do that, what sort of opportunities would come up in your life? In what ways would your life change if you truly got to that place where you stopped verbally in your head, shitting on yourself, and actually started bringing in some observation and bringing in some realistic ways of thinking about how you navigate stress? Yo, what up? You've heard how every superhero has their origin story, right? Well, welcome to the Can't Believe I Made It podcast. I am your host, Desi Abeda. I'm a high performance mentor, registered dietitian, and family man. Tune in as we explore the high performance habits of high performers, their origin story, and how they went from disbelief to belief in their own hero's journey, where they got to a point and shouted, "Can't believe I made it." Enjoy the episode. Yo, okay. So I'm just getting back from a phenomenal weekend. I think it's probably the fifth time that I've seen him, but I ended up going to the Kendrick Lamar concert, and it's the closest that I've ever been. I was lucky enough, me and a couple other family members were able to get there, and it's the first time that I've actually been up close to Kendrick. And for those that don't know, the man is in my top three overall artist, hip hop artist, anything. Like, to me, Kendrick is in a lot of ways like, yo, Kendrick's life. Okay. So being down there, it really brought up some emotions for me, not only being able to see someone navigate their art, but then I started thinking about the process. By now that I'm really, really big on helping you to truly fall in love with the process and seeing what comes from it, right? Because in a lot of ways we can get lost in some of the things that we say to ourselves, some negative thought patterns, and really just creating stories that might not be real. Okay. So as I was down there, I had this realization, and I got to tell you, it was so hard not to pick up my phone and just film everything, because there were moments where I was like, yo, I just really want to be present right now. Like, I don't want to film anymore. And so I got to that point where I was like, all right, phone is in my pocket. I'm going to be present. And one of the things that got brought up, being so close to someone who I view as such a really tremendous and beautiful artist, my first thought was like, man, I wonder how much Kendrick's had to overcome just from the standpoint of things that he says to himself. And then that brought me down this whole thinking pattern of what happens to these people who get to the top echelon of their career field, or mainly just what they're doing in their art. Some things have to happen to them throughout this process where they actually have to start navigating any decision that they're making with the idea and the lens of, I'm going to do things that help my beliefs. I'm going to do things that provide meaning, and I'm going to do things that provide value, not only to myself and to others. And then I'm going to allow my words and my behavior follow suit. And so as I was thinking about that, I was like, you know what? I definitely want to make sure that I'm helping you all as pod family to navigate some of your own inner thoughts, and how to do that in a quick Mentorship Monday episode. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So for those who are just listening to this in audio, as always, I'm going to be walking you through this, but you're going to be able to see this on our YouTube page, our YouTube channel rather. And so as always, if you go into the show notes, you can be able to access it so that you can see the visual. But one of the things that I wanted to bring up, literally and also verbally, one of the things that I really wanted to bring up was the iceberg belief model, because before we even try to tackle our innermost thoughts and what to do with that in a healthier way, I think that we need to get to a point where we truly understand our beliefs, where they come from, and how we can direct them in a way that actually is fulfilling for us. Okay. So as I was thinking about it, like I said, I had a tremendous time at the Kendrick concert. And one of the things that got brought up for me was like, damn, I wonder what he's had to go through as an individual to get to where he is, right? You know, top echelon of the hip hop community and in a lot of ways, the art community. And as I was thinking about this, I was like, you know what, damn, I really want to tap into this with our pod family. So for you all, I want you to visualize your thought patterns right now. And I want you to visualize how you speak to yourself. You've already heard me say this before, but in a lot of ways, and in true fashion, as I work with high level people and high performers in our programs, one of the processes that does get brought up is, hey, how do you talk to yourself when things are extremely hard, when you don't really know, there's a lot of unknowns, like how do you talk to yourself? And one thing that constantly gets brought up, and one example that I try to bring in is like, hey, if you're not really aware of how toxic you are to yourself and your innermost thoughts, if we were to personify your negative self-talk into a person, the mere question here is, would you invite that person to coffee? Would you hang out with that person? Now, if you're a healthy individual, you are going to say, all right, so if I'm going to invent some sort of toxic person, then I'm not going to want to hang out with them. Now, if you're on the other side of the coin, you're like, yeah, I'd hang out with them. Perfect lead in to having a conversation with the mental health professional, right? Mental health plug. There you go. Okay. So I figured it would be great for us to understand our innermost thoughts and where it comes from. So I want to introduce the iceberg belief model. So if you can visualize this for me, if you have no idea, again, we're going to put this on our YouTube channel. We're going to make sure that this gets launched on TikTok and other places too, so that you can kind of see the visual, but I wanted to walk you through it. So when we look at the iceberg belief model, we're separating the top of the iceberg from the bottom. Okay. And so the top of the iceberg, which, you know, for anyone that knows, I'm sure you've seen some sort of model, the real things, the real substance is below the surface, right? It's beneath the surface. Okay. So at the bottom of the surface in our iceberg belief model, we have our beliefs, the things that you believe about yourself. We're going to keep it with the self right now. We have our beliefs, right? The things that you believe about yourself. We have meaning, okay? Things that you attach meaning to, or that you find meaning in your life. And those collaborate with your values, okay? Your value system. Before we even continue, if you have not sat down and gotten really clear with your value systems, whether it is you as an individual, whether it is you sharing your life with your spouse or a significant other, or maybe even just team members, right? If you're an entrepreneur and you have a group of people that you collaborate with, whatever that is, I think it's incredible homework for you to sit down and get really clear with, okay, what 2 to 3 values really, really speak to me? An example for me, just bringing personal stories in, 100% it's legacy. I want to make sure that no matter what I am doing, that I am submitting a healthier legacy for not only my kids, but their kids. And in the same token, making sure that the type of legacy that they lead is going to spill into their friend groups, and then by default into their community, and then beyond. That's a value system of mine. So going back to the iceberg belief model is getting really clear with, okay, what are my beliefs? What do I attach meaning to? And where do values come in? Because those 3 things are going to provide you with a far greater look into the type of words that you use. Again, we're keeping this with the self, the type of words that you use, and the types of behaviors that you enlist in. So as we bring this back to the self, not only do we need to boost awareness around our belief systems, what we attach meaning to, and then on top of our values, but this provides us with an understanding as to why words and behavior really matter. And so if you are someone who is in a lot of ways an incredible asshole to yourself, merely doing this type of work, navigating your beliefs, navigating what you attach meaning to, and also navigating your values, this is going to provide you with a lot of I like to call it observational data. It's going to provide you with a lot of observational data or information so that you can start to do some of this inner work. And oftentimes this doesn't have to be done alone. This is why you're always going to hear me pushing you towards some sort of mental health awareness plug, because this is perfect information right here to take to a mental health professional. This is perfect information right here to take to a really safe individual. to have that conversation so that you can start to boost your awareness, because we can't really tackle the three things that I want to teach you in reference to you being less of an asshole to yourself without you doing this inner work first. Okay, so let's pretend for a moment that you've done this work. Let's pretend for a moment that you understand that maybe the personal self-talk that you enlist in no longer serves you. Let's pretend for a moment that you understand your beliefs. Okay, you understand the meaning that you attach to your words and your behavior. And in the same breath, you also understand the 2 to 3 anchoring values that keep you going. Right. So as we build awareness about this is where I want to get into, okay, here are the practical things that you can do personally after doing this really, really important work so that you can start to navigate more positive self-talk in your life. Okay. So here are the 3 pointers that I think are pertinent. These are things that I walk a lot of my clients through, and this is what I think is so important if you're trying to get to a point where you're talking to yourself in a much healthier way and in a way that really promotes progress, because the quickest way for you to navigate progress is truly falling in love with the process. So let's teach you 3 things that help you to do that. So here's the first one. And this is something that I do with all of my clients. If someone is coming up and they're really having a tough time with how they're talking to themselves, these are the 3 pointers, or these are the 3 activities that I bring into their high level life. Okay. So each morning I want you to visualize yourself, right, sitting at the coffee table, and I want you to invite all pieces of you to coffee that morning. So one way that we can do this is in the first 5 minutes, again, you have your coffee, you're inviting metaphorically all pieces of you to the table, okay? So I want you to take the first 5 minutes and I want you to write all the things that you're saying to yourself. Just 5 minutes. They can be good, they can be bad, they can be indifferent. So as you take that 5 minutes, after that 5 minutes, I want you to take a look. The second thing that I want you to do is I want you to fact check the stories that you're telling, that you are telling yourself. Because in a lot of ways, we can create some fantastic stories. A lot of us are tremendous storytellers. We're tremendous authors of our life, especially as it pertains to just going down the rabbit hole, right? Someone comes by and gives you a nod, and maybe they might be talking to someone else, or maybe they might be nodding, but to you, you're like, why did that person nod at me? Like, I don't know them. Are they saying something about me? And then you kind of go down that rabbit hole, right? And this offers us an opportunity right then and there to go ahead and fact check these stories. So you're taking the first 5 minutes, you're writing out all the things that you're saying to yourself currently. The second step is we're fact checking the stories. Which one of these is actual fact? And what other things are actually realistic to where I am in my life? Okay. And as you do the first 2 steps, this third one is going to be the application piece, right? Because the education and the things are always readily available. The big push here is for you to get to a point where you can actually take actions on them. Okay. So as you fact check these stories, the next things that you want to do here is you want to take 2 really big concepts. There's always going to be a theme to things that you're saying to yourself. So if it's something that you need to overcome, okay, or merely if it's something that you need to sit down and do, your third step here is to take action on 1 or 2 stories to help you to create progress. So if you're someone who's been incredibly avoidant of something that you know that you have to do, and the story that you've been telling yourself is that you're unable, is that you're inept, you're not intelligent enough, you know, like all the horrible things that you say to yourself. So your push here is to take 1 or 2 small actions towards that thing possibly that you're avoiding, if avoidance comes up in the types of stories that you want to give to yourself. Okay. Because you can, add and subtract this to, in a lot of ways, anything that you're saying to yourself. These 3 steps right here are things that I want you to take into this Monday, and I want you to take into the rest of the week. Okay? Because as always, we're trying to provide a mirror by making sure that you are living in a place where your values, okay, your belief systems, and on top of that, the meaning that you attach to your words and behavior. We want to be aware of those things so that we can start to create more of a positive outcome in your life. All right. I love y'all. I'll catch you on the next one. Let's go.